We just had the last race of the season, and nobody is happier to get away from Formula One than George Russell after having to give up his win and 25 points towards the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. It's lights out, and away we go for episode 152 of the Eden Asphalt Podcast. I mean, when a guy, you roll the dice, you go on a strategy that is kind of questionable to begin with. Everyone at the beginning is like, I don't know if this is going to work out. That's a long stint. You pull it off. You're a legend. You spray the champagne, do the press conference afterward, all for it to be stolen and taken away from you through no fault of your own. Absolutely no fault of your own. I mean, is there anybody in the world more depressed right now than George Russell?
I don't know, man. How does that happen? Are there
So,
not checks continuously?
like, you would like immediately my first thought was, is this because of like tire wear? Like, do tires are tires
It's like they
heavy?
just shed 5 pounds a race.
Like, and like that was going around social media.
Yeah.
A lot of people were saying that. And I watched Jolyon Palmer do a technical analysis that put that to bed. So yeah, I'm with you. There's no excuse for that. And if I were George Russell, I'd be like, you all, like, everyone takes a 5% pay doc for the rest of the year and it goes to me.
Yeah. Yeah. A little slush fund.
Yeah.
Try to booze it out these 3 weekends, dude.
All right. Well, on this episode of the podcast, should be a quick one. We got our hot lap recap, our winners and losers, and our recap of race and gambling predictions. So let's get right into it with our hot lap recap.
All right. Hot lab recap. This wild race weekend started on Saturday, where it looked like Max had a can of NOS in his engine by taking pole by almost 6/10 of a second to second place. Luckily, we can thank the racing gods that he had a 10-place ICU penalty and started from 11th. That meant Ferrari and a Red Bull not named Max Verstappen locked out the front row. Who would have thought? On to Sunday, where things got even more exciting. The race started with Lando taking on his fiercest rival, turn one, and lost again by falling 3 spots before turning into turn two. Fast forward to lap 10, where George Russell took an early pit stop, unbeknownst to us and probably most people on the grid. That would have been his only pit stop and was able to last 34 long laps. Piastri was probably 1 lap away from securing the win, likely due to him almost running over his pit crew. And finally, George Russell was the first driver to ever make it to the top of the podium to celebrate, scoring 0 points. That must have been, like we said, probably the most bitter champagne taste ever. Buckle up, gearheads, because we go into summer break with Max up only 78 points on Lando and Red Bull up 42 points on McLaren.
Excellent hot lap recap, Marco. Let's go into it in a little deeper of a dive with our winners and losers. Marco, who came out on top and who came out as a big old loser?
Starting with the top, Lewis, obviously, only the second driver to win multiple races this year. I don't know what is more bittersweet. I was trying to think about this: winning because your teammate in front of you got disqualified, or having your team repeatedly force your teammate to let you by to win when he was clearly way faster than you and was up about 6 seconds on you.
I think Lewis probably is a little happier than Oscar was to
Yeah.
win. Yeah, Oscar's
Yeah.
still a loser. Loser Oscar.
Yeah. Yeah. Loser as a winner. All right. My other winner is going to be Max. Obviously, typically seeing a fourth place finish for Max may put him on the loser list, but starting from 11th, making up a whole 7 spots isn't an easy feat. As he said, it was a damage control weekend. Not really a nice thing to call your teammate.
uh,
Uh,
yeah, so I don't know. That was perfect. Go ahead. Love that.
yeah. All right. Moving on. Oscar, obviously, with the most points in the last 2 weeks by any other driver, a first place and a second place. Great for him. Great for McLaren. Young stud. And then my last winner is going to be Williams. Did they score points? No. But they did get the biggest upgrade of the season. going from Logan Sargent to Carlos Sainz. So huge win for Williams.
It's all about baby steps, and Williams took a little baby step for their car development, giant leap for mankind in terms of their drivers. So yeah, congratulations to Carlos Sainz. Only extra winner that I had, Danny Ricciardo gave an interview about talking about how upset he was to finish P11. He was like, sometimes, you give your all and you just have to be happy with the fact that you were almost there. And then like an hour and a half later, it's like, yay, okay, thanks, George. We had to sacrifice George Russell's win for a singular Danny Ricciardo point, and I would do it over again.
100%. Yeah. I think everyone would probably.
Yeah. And then my other one, the safety car driver, second race in a row where he just gets bored. So safety for Formula One. No one's causing any safety cars. Um, I'm happy about it. Maybe think about over summer break getting a little more gutsy to get a little more shakeups in some of these races. Just a thought.
Yeah, we haven't had too many crashes.
None. Safety cars, even when people are like, beach it or something like that on the gravel, like, yeah, there's no safety cars.
Yeah, back in our day, Prost, there's always a racing line. There's always there. You always got to take it. These guys are like, oh, I don't want to cause any issues. Back off. No.
Bunch of Gen Z softies. Am I right?
Pick it up, fellas, Get some calluses on those fingers. Let's get a fire. All right, those for my winners. Going
Wait,
on to
hold on,
losers.
really quick. Keep this in. Imagine, like, please, Carrie, save that clip for when some horrible Roman Grosjean accident happens and we make Marco look like, like, hey, come on, boys, where's the fire? And it's just like, oh yeah, Oscar Piastri burnt off half of his body.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we haven't had a death in a while in Formula One. Knock on wood. No one watches. We're fine. All right. Moving on. That does it for our winners and losers. That does it for our winners. Now on to losers. I didn't have too many. One, our typical one, but our first one, obviously the biggest loser, George. I had no other notes for that. It's just, could you imagine? I mean, that far off, having no idea that this was going to be a problem in the first place, and just being like, first, feel bad for the guy. However, he found out. It was like Toto calling him. If I'm Toto, I'm like, intern, tell George. I don't have the guts to tell this guy.
Yeah. I like to think that the McLaren garage is like, it's a long season. Like they all like to play pranks on each other, probably. It's a bunch of, just a bunch of mates wrestling around the garage. And they're like, hey, George, by the way, like, hate to break it to you, but you lost all 25 points. And he's like, okay, guys, very funny. And then eventually he's like, okay, they're not giving up the bit. Like, let me talk to Toto. And then, yeah, Toto put on his intern.
Yeah, and it's just like, ugh. Well, see you later. Let you cool down for a little bit, buddy. My last loser, same every weekend. Sergio Perez starting P2, going backwards 5 spots while your teammate made up 7. Just another disappointing weekend for the Mexican. On the other hand, the guy miraculously secured a seat for now through summer break. I think that is actually like he should be on the winning, because I don't think anyone saw this coming of him making it, keeping this seat through summer break.
Yeah, no, I mean, he got demoted to the, hey, we need you to steal the fastest lap point guy. Like that's his role now, is
Yeah,
just take 1 point off of McLaren. And so, yeah, I like, congrats, I guess. Are we gonna see him actually next year? Is this just kind of like a big Red Bull ploy? Like remains to be seen, but you would think he's had a pretty rough year. Like I think he needs to come out of the gate. Maybe a pole in the first like 3 or 4 races would make him
it's a
feel.
little pull for him.
Yeah,
He
it's a
was.
little,
I think. I mean, he was like 0.01 seconds, 0.11 seconds away from pole this weekend because Max didn't count, but very close.
yeah. I mean, right there, just inches.
Yeah, I think they got to summer break, my thought process, and it was they still have enough gap in both championships that they're like, this isn't the break glass of an emergency yet. So like we can just hold off until we absolutely need someone to come in and like get us to the finish line. I think that he just has done barely, barely, barely enough where there's enough gap for them to be like, hey, this isn't dire yet, but I think that dire is going to be coming.
Yeah, I like imagine the first race back, he like accidentally crashes into Max or like he ruins Max or something like that. You got to think it's a layup at that point, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's just like the 0.1% above like what
Oh
is.
yeah, dude. He's on the Mendoza line. He's just barely above that 200 batting average, and he's just swimming above it. He's playing with fire for sure.
Yeah. I did have one other loser, which was the McLaren pit crew, specifically the front jack guy that Oscar rammed into. Kind of a loser, kind of a winner because, like, I mean, he got FaceTime on the
Yeah,
TV, not
yeah.
even with his helmet on. Like, his helmet was off, and the camera guy was getting up next to him, and everybody was laughing in the garage. So it was like, I'm sure he probably has like a couple of broken ribs or something like that, but at least his mom got to be like, "That's my son,"
Look at him. College was worth it, huh?
They were
Yeah.
using
I
that
mean that.
degree from college.
Yeah. Well worth it. All those pounds, huh? All those tens of pounds. I don't know how much that is. But I mean that. Wouldn't you say that extra what was an extra second or 2 seconds because of that? I mean that lost him the race.
Yeah, I think you can make an argument for that. Like, I don't know. I they were saying that on the commentary. Like, I don't know how much moving like a little bit. It's not like he like went like 3 feet ahead and people had to like readjust and scoot over. But
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like a 4-2 pit stop, right? I mean, if you're getting in the, high twos, second and a half, loses by what, 0.8 seconds?
true.
I don't know.
Um, and then last one. I mean, just joke on you. Losing power was like at first he you saw him lose power. He was going slow on the straight. And they were like, all right, good news is you can continue. Bad news, you're 70 seconds behind P19 in like lap like 5 or something like that. And then they threw in the towel. When they sent him back out, I was like, guys, don't do this. Like, there's no reason that we need to put this man. Like, he's almost, I'd be like, you're almost on your way to summer break in like high school or college. And then they're like, oh, by the way, you have a surprise final that you have to
Pop
take.
quiz.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, not great in that neon green garage. Neon green's a lot less cool when you are absolutely horrible from a driver, team, strategy, car, everything weekend.
Mhm.
Uh, when you like when you're that bad, it's
Starting
kind
to,
of tough to be in
starting to
that.
look a little tacky, I would say. Tacky
Yeah,
green a little
yeah,
bit.
tacky's good. Also, when
Yeah.
your name is super tacky, I think
Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to be known as the tacky guys.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think he probably had fun in Formula One.
I don't know, dude. That Chinese market is pretty large. I feel like
Yeah.
he's gonna have a lot longer of a leash than Sergio Perez is gonna have. And even if I think he'll be around a little while longer. That's a lot of money coming in.
I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, I know Perez has a lot of sponsorship himself. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see.
He's not very good at the sport.
All right. Any other winners or losers?
That doesn't for me.
All right. Well, then let's move on to our race and gambling predictions recap. But before we move on to that, we do want to give a hat tip to our sponsor this episode, Long Lasting Russell's Rubbers. Do some of your stints not necessarily last as long as you'd want them to? Does it sometimes feel like your stints are going well and then all of a sudden you see your performance fall off a cliff? Do you or someone around you sometimes get really disappointed about things maybe ending a little too quickly? Well, look no further than Russell's Rubbers. These rubber tires have been battle tested and are guaranteed to keep you in the race for at least 38 seconds, 38 laps, 38 laps, at least 38 laps, keep you going for at least 38 laps. As a disclaimer, Russell's Rubbers want to remind everybody, including their beloved customers, that it is not responsible for any disaster endings, including but not limited to losing 25 championship points, having your weekend or life ruined, including babies. Order your Russell's Rubbers today. Make premature stints a thing of the past with Russell's Rubbers and finally feel what it's like to be a guy in his 20s again, just like George Russell. Hat tip to Russell's Rubbers. We appreciate you. And now let's move on to our race and gambling predictions. Going into the weekend for our race predictions, I was up on Marco 9-7. And I did predict Guan Yu Zhou to finish, or to not finish rather. So bump me up to 10. Marco?
Keep me at 7.
All right, I'll keep it at 7.
I didn't even look, but I didn't want it.
As a reminder, predictions are really hard in the sport. So anybody who thinks it's easy and makes fun of us for not knowing wheel, stop it.
Show me your streak, huh? Show me your numbers. I'll show you mine.
Speaking of numbers, let's move over to our gambling paddock. Marco, why don't you go this time?
All right, I'm keeping the hot streak in the red. Both of my gambling predictions went wrong. Landed to win half a unit there, and Piastri to win half a unit there. Both wrong. Goes down 12 and 23, but plus 0.24 units. So if you stuck with me, all carry the one, 35 bets that I made, all of them the entire year with the unit special, 20 unit special, you're coming out with about $4.8. So you're welcome.
I was not so lucky in the first half of the season. I'm kind of picturing a slingshot where you take all
Oh
the
yeah, you
losing
went
and then
far
you
back.
just
Yeah,
fell right
a
in.
lot of tension.
Lot of like kind of a concerning amount of tension. 15-26 is my record. I did get Esteban over Pierre, 1 unit at -135. I only went down 0.4 units this weekend, which is the best that I've done since Monaco. And Monaco, known for its gambling. So I think it maybe put a curse on me. Summer break, where we turn it around, we make you money. You listen to this podcast for awesome takes on F1, news on F1, and making millions of dollars. If you bet Marco's bets and
You
you bet
started this
millions of dollars.
second half of the season, Ian.
Exactly. All right. Wonderful first. I mean, let's just take a second to reflect. We started this season potentially a little pessimistic. Last season was tough to get through. All Red Bull -1 Carlos Sainz win. We kind of anticipated the same thing. The first couple of races didn't necessarily make us excited. Thought it'd be a little harder to watch than it has been. But let's give credit where credit's due. We've had I mean, how many different winners in the last like 7 races? We've had a lot of drama with George this past weekend even. I think the Constructors' Championship is in for a nice ride the second half of the season. Who knows? Maybe Lando turns it on and Max has some bad luck. Like this is the first time in a while where I can say like, man, we don't know what's gonna happen like on a race weekend. I don't know like when the last time we could consistently say that was. So hat tip Formula One. Congratulations. You made a fan out of us.
Yeah. I mean, being a Ferrari fan, I'm gonna go out on a limb. Super nice guy here. If I could, I can't. It sucks. I would replace my points with Mercedes points, Ferrari points with Mercedes. Three-way race right around them, like all of them kind of bunched up, or I guess closing the gap on Red Bull would be a terrific three-way battle. Unfortunately, Ferrari showed that they were pretty decent the first half of the year, and now downhill. So maybe Mercedes just maybe gets actual 1-2s and keeps their 1-2s and can make a bit of a gap and catch up. But at least we have what looks like looming a very close constructors, potentially drivers.
Yeah. I think we can bank on at least a good battle in the constructors
Yeah,
among the top 3, which I mean, we've been conditioned in the sport to take that as like a massive win.
that's huge. Yeah. That's what you can ask for.
That's all you really can ask for. All right, everybody. Been a fun first half of the season. Got some fun stuff planned for the summer break. And yeah, we'll see you on the other side of summer break.
See you, assholes.
See you, assholes.
Hey, thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
I used to say I lived my life a quarter mile at a time. And I think that's why we were brothers. Because you did too.